Okay, so this book's been left alone for a few days while I did some online shopping. I also did visit a branch of Michaels and looked at what decorative papers they had, and the result was very disappointing. If you want to put together party materials, I guess it works, but for anything to do with books, no. But credit to these guys, Hollanders in Michigan. I was able to get some nice decorative paper relatively cheaply from there, and I really love the fact that it came in a nice tube and it was wrapped in this grey paper, because this grey paper is also very suitable for repairing the spine of small books. In many of my previous playlists, you'll see me busily using kitchen roll basically to do reinforcement for a spine. Now for small or thin books, that's just a way too thick a material, but something like this that's not flexible, but just has enough to keep the glue on the spine separate from the way the text block spine has been reinforced, is actually quite useful. So it's good to have that. So here we go, the reveal. See what you think. Okay, why did I choose something so blue? That's why. So what I'm aiming to do is to replicate as closely as reasonably possible the original marbling that was done to the text block. Now this is actually quite a nice size. Yeah, okay. I think this is going to work quite nicely. It's a little darker than I would have liked. It is very blue. Nevertheless, I think the way in which it aligns with the printing on the edges of the text block, I think, will work. So, all right. So there we go. This video is going to be how we actually glue this in place. So what I'm going to be doing is focusing very, very heavily on the existing corners, because obviously they've already been trimmed very neatly to a 90-degree angle, and that'll really help us here. And then the really critical thing is going to be how we're able to cut the paper to achieve a really straight edge along here. That's going to be the most critical thing. Scissors won't do it, the blade's not long enough. So what we're going to have to do is to find a method to cut the paper in a way that doesn't leave sort of permanent folds, in a way that we get a very, very vertical line here, a line of 45 degrees here, and everything's just beautifully in proportion, and we also don't waste the paper. All right, here we go. Okay, so here's how I'm going to align this book to get the most accurate cut as possible from this paper. The first thing I'm going to do is measure the book height-wise. You can see it's exactly 10 inches. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the fact that there are lots of marked right angles already on this table. So you can see here, I'm going to use that as a plumb vertical line, and that as a perfectly perpendicular horizontal line. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring the spine of the book up against that vertical line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the book up and down until I'm perfectly happy that this line here is midway down the book. In other words, it's at the 5-inch mark. So to do that, just put the ruler there. Okay, like so. Just make sure it's still absolutely true. Okay. So now I've situated the book in such a way that I'm able to use this horizontal line as an indicator. It's not quite true actually. Just move it down very slightly. This is definitely a case of measure many times before you do anything. There. So what that does is it means that I'm able to, there we go, that's perfect. Yeah. I'm able to have confidence that this line coming in here represents the midpoint of the book. All right. Now I'm going to situate the phone here for ease. Okay. Now why did I do all that? Well, what I'm going to do is take advantage of this corner to make sure that I accurately situate the paper to create two triangles here that are identical and at 45 degrees, just like the original leather is. So to do that, this corner here needs to be midway down the book. And what this line does is it enables me to actually have a guide for that. So if I situate the corner here, I know that at least this point is halfway down the book. Now, of course, the paper can still pivot this way, which I don't want. So the way to make sure that I get two identical triangles here is to make sure that in addition to that point being halfway down the book, this distance here is the same as this distance here. So what we're going to do is measure this distance. Now, just because it's slight, I may actually just turn this around. Okay. That's showing me exactly 4.5 inches from the corner to the book. Down here. There. It's very close, not quite. I'll try again. Still showing me 4.5. That's showing me 4.5. And the corner's on the line. So what that basically means is I've gotten to a position where I have a triangle here and a triangle here that obviously the corners have been bumped, so this isn't a perfect right angle, but is as close as I'm going to get it, I think. And just looking at it from the standpoint of just eyeballing it, I'm pretty comfortable as well with that. Now what I'm going to do is take an HB pencil. I'm using this because obviously I can use an eraser to remove it. And although I won't see the grey, I will see the shininess on the leather. So if I may not show very well on the camera, unfortunately. But there is actually a reflection that's created. Maybe just see it there. So I can actually create marks here so that I can take this paper away and then align it perfectly subsequently. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some marks like that. That'll make it easy for me to realign these perfectly should I need to. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this relatively approximately for now. This isn't a final cut. What I'm going to do is cut the paper with scissors along the back here. Now, I'm going to remove more in a second, but just to get the whole thing down to more. That's good, yeah. There we are. There we go. So I can always recreate the situation. So, then we come to the interesting bit. I'm going to use this guy here to perform the cut along the rear. And I'm doing that because it really does need to be exactly straight. And the problem with using scissors is you'll create a slight wobble because the use of the blade always just, at least with me, tends to sort of move from side to side slightly. So this is where we need to do something super accurate. So to do this, what we're going to do is realign the paper with the marks that we made, like so. Now we're going to measure. Okay, so I'm in a position where everything's aligned here perfectly. Got my point there on the line. What I'm going to do is trim myself a few pieces of tape. This is just a temporary solution, obviously this won't be permanently in the book anyway. I'm using just a really harmless Scotch tape. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape down the back of the paper just to the spine temporarily. There. That's what I didn't want to happen. Redo my alignment. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is in one smooth motion put a piece of tape here across the corner. I'm going to lift this page, fold the paper under, and bring it back. That was actually one of the trickiest bits. It all still looks good. Okay, just give it a press there, make sure the tape sticks. Now, here, you want to create a fold line. That's the right distance to measure what we've got here. So if I just measure these triangles, I'm dealing with 1 1/4 inches here and here. I want the leather border at the back to be 1 1/4 inches along the leather. So just gonna use this tape again. So let's see how accurately I can get this. best way I think to do this is just pick 2 points, get them accurate. And obviously this bend here varies a little bit along the book. So that's about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to measure the 1 1/4 inch point here. Across. Let's do the same at the other end. Let's double check alignments. Double check width. Honestly, this is quite a, see, I'm a little narrower there than I am here. See that? So this is not too easy. Okay. I am comfortable with that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create guide marks along the back as well. Like so. Okay. We're now in a position to do the cut. So this paper is a little bit too big for the guillotine to be cut in one go. The guillotine tends to get a bit raggedy at this end, but it cuts very sharply at this end. So what I'm going to have to do is do a one-time fold, and this is where the fact I've used this right angle comes in helpful, because it means I can fold very accurately and confidently, and I know that the fold I created previously down the book here will align perfectly, because I'm creating a nice aligned match along here. Alright. It's important that that's accurate. Now what I'm going to do is perform the cut. I'm holding with a great deal of tension in my left hand to make sure that nothing slips in terms of alignment. Please be careful here. This blade is very, very, very sharp. Here goes nothing. Okay. Let's see how we did. Line up our original marks. Good enough. Now what I'm going to do is fold down the top and bottom corners. We will be able to glue this down successfully, and the result will look aligned. Okay, so I've done the other side as well, which was easier because obviously now I had a template, and just very loosely stuck it in place. Acid test. Do the results look symmetrical here and here? Yes, they do. Do the corners look the same? Yes, they do. So it may not be absolutely perfect, but I think we're now in a good position where we can think about gluing the paper.